We are also aware that the demands of our people since day one is Muammar Gaddafi to step down and his family to depart. Therefore, any initiative which does not include this key popular demand will not be regarded. Muammar Gaddafi and his sons should depart immediately if he will to save himself.
Let's speak now to Al Jazeera's Laurence Lee, who's in Benghazi. And Laurence, with the AU proposal rejected outright by the opposition, where does it leave the prospect for any kind of ceasefire?
Dead in the water, certainly for the time being. Clearly, the opposition leadership here regard the African Union as a bunch of traitors who are betraying the aims of the revolution. They obviously think that the AU came here trying to sell them an idea which they must have known that Benghazi would never accept, because it held the promise of Gaddafi not having to leave the scene and to stay in power for some future negotiation. Clearly they didn't believe that he was capable of honouring any kind of a ceasefire, and they wanted to respect the will of the people in Benghazi, which you heard Mustafa Abdel Jalil say in that short clip there. And clearly all the people who were on the streets behind the hotel all day basically said that they didn't want anything, and every single person said exactly the same thing: don't trust Gaddafi, you can't believe a single word he says. And so the African Union delegation has now left after the talks have broken down. Lots of honking of horns and celebratory gunfire, and they've all gone off into the night, frankly, I think, feeling more refreshed now after a few days of being down in the dumps about the state of the conflict. What's happened today with the breakdown of these talks in a roundabout sort of way, I think, has probably given them fresh impetus for the fight now, and it would be entirely unsurprising if the fighting actually increased, I think, because of this.
Some would have argued, though, Laurence, that an actual ceasefire would have helped them reorganize themselves, get the kind of discipline, organization, weapons and training that they so lack. Now, that the fact that they won't accept a ceasefire on the AU terms, do the people of Benghazi feel that they can continue the fight on the battlefield? Do they feel that they have the international and domestic support that they need?
Well, I think they have this philosophy that Mr. Jalil sort of spelt out essentially, was that, you know, we'd rather die as martyrs. We'd rather die on our feet than live on our knees, and that sits very well with this constituency here, which has learned to mistrust any single thing that Gaddafi has to say. Now, it could be, and I think you could form an argument, that they might be making a huge strategic mistake, because if there was a way of getting enough international peacekeepers in from a variety potentially of different sources. Remember, the European Union has offered to stump up people in the manner that they did in Bosnia. The United Nations, according to the African Union, and the African Union themselves, offered to send peacekeepers to ensure that Gaddafi's forces were in the barracks and that the cities were free. Now, in that situation, you could imagine if people were able to express their opinions openly, then right across not just eastern Libya, from here to the Egyptian border, but in cities now under siege like Misrata and Zawiya and everywhere else, the theory says that these people could show how much right across Libya they want Gaddafi to go. And according to that principle, you might think that the pressure would become unbearable on Gaddafi, but it seems that the people here just don't believe a word that Gaddafi has to say, and whatever he said to the African Union, you can't trust him even to honour the most basic things on a ceasefire. And so what it means is that you have absolute stasis now. Neither side is prepared politically to give an inch. Neither side militarily can win the conflicts. NATO is now in a position where it has to try to continue to enforce a no-fly zone at great cost to all these countries in the outside world, which continue in turn to insist that Gaddafi has to go, and yet there is not enough pressure to force him out. And so everything is completely static, and there is nowhere, I think, at the moment that you can look that offers any sort of immediate end to this.
Thank you, Laurence. Laurence Lee in Benghazi.